Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I'm JC, and this is Grace Overflowing. In today's video, I wanted to bring a couple of confirmations and just really incredible, encouraging signs that the Lord has given me recently that He is coming and rapture is soon. I truly believe in my heart that He's been revealing that to me since this time last year and maybe even a little earlier in summer. And there's been some ways that I feel He has reminded me of some of the things that He had spoken to me as it relates to this earlier in the summer. And I think that the point is that He wants me to keep looking up, to keep waiting and anticipating His return, for I do believe that our Savior draws nigh. Now, with that said, many of you all know we are currently in a high watch time period. And really, this period of time that's considered high watch will go all the way up through the fall feasts. And my husband and I and my daughter, we have been anticipating. We have been even staying up and waiting excitedly for our Savior during these dates that have really been significant to us, that we felt that maybe quite possibly it could be it, as we wanted to be awake when the Lord returned. So we have been going through this. There's been a few dates. However, one of these days was July the 9th. And what's interesting about it is that I typically get up really, really early, and so I go to bed really, really early. And therefore, I typically don't even see it get dark during the summertime. And so during this particular day that I was kind of staying up late for the obvious reason, I had walked by this large window in my studio, and something caught my eye that was unexpected. And what it was, come to find out, was the Mars Venus conjunction. I had called my husband down and he brought his phone. He had put an app on it during the time of the Bethlehem star that, you can just kind of point and shoot the phone and it will identify stars, planets, and whatnot. And so that's how we came to know that that was the situation and this occurrence that just made this really amazing bright star that really stuck out to me and called me over to the window that night. But here's where the story gets really incredible. As we were looking on and looking at some of the other constellations and planets and where everything was kind of aligning, we both saw something that really astonished us. My friends, we truly believe that it was an asteroid or a comet or some kind of fireball. Now, as I said, this happened on July the 9th. That was still somewhat close to July the 4th, but both of us feel sure that this was not a firework that we had seen. It looked like a fireball. And what was interesting about it is that it came from behind our house forward, so that we saw it come from overhead until it just pretty much vanished right before our eyes. And it happened so quickly, in a blink, in a flash. However, both of us saw it. And I just remembered thinking that night how significant that was and how amazing it was and how more likely than not we wouldn't have even seen it. But for some reason, not only did I see it, but my husband saw it as well. And I knew that the Lord was giving me some kind of a confirmation through it, an assurance, like keep looking up, like things are happening, things are moving and happening in the atmosphere. So with that, the next day I had kind of looked around, wondering if anybody else in our area had seen anything like this, if I saw anybody posting, anything on the news, social media. And here's what, I didn't see anything. And so that's when I started to wonder if this was just something that we were shown in the spirit realm, if this was some kind of a supernatural manifestation. Because like I said, we really both believe it wasn't a firework, nor did we hear anything that would suggest that it was. There were no loud noises surrounding this event. So we both think that we saw an asteroid. Now, moving on from that, this weekend was also another high watch time, and we ended up trying to stay up as well. But as we were hanging out that afternoon, my husband and I, we were both reading our Bibles. He mentioned something that just kind of shocked me and amazed me because it ended up being an additional confirmation to my last dream message as it relates to the Swifts and how I believe that dream that I had had. Now, I posted this original dream 2 videos ago, but I had followed it up with an additional video, which I posted last, that these Swifts symbolized the coming rapture of the church. And they were just kind of flying up into the air. And I felt that the Lord had given me confirmations, had spoken words into my heart, that in fact was one of the meanings of these birds. And so as we were sitting there both reading, my husband asked me, he said, "So how many times are swifts mentioned in the Bible?" And I looked over, I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" Because obviously there's the word as it relates to the verb. But anyway, it was just really amazing because he happened to be reading Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 7. And when I realized that in his particular translation, which it isn't written that way in my translation, when I realized that the bird mentioned in his translation was the swift, I was blown away, my friends, because of the implication of it and because of an experience the Lord had already given me with this particular verse last summer when he spoke to me that there was a connection with this particular verse and the coming rapture. Now, I'm going to link that video in the description box. So if you want to hear all about that supernatural experience the Lord had given me and how I felt that he had ended up speaking to me through something that had happened pretty much all summer. Just to back up a little bit, again, I said he had been pouring into my heart. We are coming into that time. Not only is judgment going to fall, but we are going to go up. The church is going to be raptured. And as I was on this just incredible walk one day, the Lord had revealed to me that something that he had been showing me and giving me all summer connected to this. And what it was blue jay feathers. My family and I walked in our neighborhood all summer, and we collected an amazing, huge bag of feathers. But what we found more than any other feather, strangely enough, was blue jay feathers. And on this particular walk, I felt that the Lord revealed to me whatever he was trying to tell me, the answer could be found as it relates to the bluebird. And so I ended up going home and I grabbed my phone and I just started Googling, blue birds in Scripture to see if there was any reference, any verse that the Lord would give me, because I felt so certain that whatever it was that he was trying to show me, this confirmation would come, and it would come through this symbol of this feather, this bluebird feather. And so in the end, what ended up happening was I found a specific verse that was in the Message. Now, the Message isn't an actual translation. It's more of a paraphrase. However, God can use anything, and he does use all things to speak to his children. And so I truly believe that that was the case in this situation. And so with that said, I want to read you what that verse says coming from the Message. It reads, "Cranes know when it's time to move south for winter, and robins, warblers, and bluebirds know when it's time to come back again." And so when I saw that, my friends, I was just really amazed that there seemed to be this notion of migration and this knowing that the birds have when it's time, and that just as the birds know, the Lord had been speaking to me and giving me this impression in my heart and knowing that we are coming into that time. We are in that time, that high watch time when it can really happen anytime. And so he encouraged me with that. And here's what was really awesome was that he gave me a sign within the sign. And that was that, as I said, this verse is Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 7. The day that this happened last year in 2020 was August the 7th. So it was 8/7. The same day that he gave me this experience was the same number of the verse. And so I just felt very strongly in my spirit he was saying something to me through this, and it was really powerful, and it was really undeniable to me. I felt very strongly in my spirit that this was the confirmation of all that had been stirring in my spirit and the way that he had been speaking to me. Now, going back to this past weekend, when my husband asked me that, I didn't know exactly what he was talking about at first, but then he let me know that he was reading out of the book of Jeremiah. And sure enough, it was chapter 8 and it was verse 7. And in that translation, the same verse reads, "Even the stork in the sky knows her appointed seasons, and the dove, the swift, and the thrush observe the time of their migration." And so, again, in this particular translation, there's even that word migration. And it just hit me so powerfully because the bird that I had seen in my dream was the swift. And I did not realize that that was a bird that was used in this particular verse until my husband happened to mention it to me again on a high watch day. And so I just felt that that was just really bringing things together for me, that the Lord is really trying to say, this is going to happen. Just don't give up. Keep watching and keep waiting. Even if a date passes, keep watching, keep waiting, because soon, very soon, it's going to come. He is going to come, and the church will be raptured. Now, I had been wondering in my spirit if this was something that the Lord wanted me to share with all of you. And I woke up today feeling that there were several different things that I could speak about and feeling that the Lord wanted me to do a video, but I just really wasn't sure what the message was. And this is again when I had another supernatural experience, and not surprisingly, that he used birds to speak through to me. And so what ended up happening was I had gone outside this morning, and when I went outside, there was this flaming orange bird in the top of a tree that is right out in front of our house, that's behind another house, but it's mostly dead. And so at the very top of this tree, there was this orange-breasted bird, and it was a songbird. It was singing a melody, and the sun had just started to come up so that it was shining so brightly on the breast of this bird that it literally seemed like it was just blaze orange, like the color of fire. It was really, really incredible the way that it was lit up in this barren tree. Obviously, it immediately brought thoughts of the burning bush into my mind, just seeing it at the top of this tree. But as soon as I saw it, my attention got pulled away to other things that were happening at the same time. These 3 crows were flying around. One landed on a chimney, the other one flew around and ended up on the top of an evergreen tree, and another one just kind of kept flying around, cawing and making all kinds of ruckus. And so there were definitely 3 crows, and they kind of moved around a little bit, but that was basically kind of where the 2 ended up, and the one kept kind of going to and fro. Well, at that point, I hear more ruckus above my head. And so I look up and see what looked to be a swarm of little swifts. Now, I couldn't be sure, but I truly believe because there was an arch to these wings, it seemed very much like swifts to me. They were flying in a circle, here and there, chirping, and it was just really one of those unbelievable moments, because with the flaming bird in the tree and the 3 crows cawing and these little things just swarming around, and actually I saw some of them, they almost seemed to fly in a circular motion, like they were just flying in a circle around our backyard. And so it was just incredible, something that I'd never really experienced before, and I felt the Spirit of the Lord, and I felt that the Lord was getting my attention and speaking to me through this occurrence. And so I had taken it all in, and then the orange bird flew off. Now, I had looked into the orange bird just because I was curious, and I couldn't be sure, but I think it was either one of 2 things. I think it was either a robin, I think it's called an American robin, with its red breast, And it might have been that because it was a little bit of a larger bird. But I also saw that Baltimore Orioles are also known to be found in Kentucky. And both of them are songbirds. They sing little melodies, and it could have been either or. But it's just with the way that that sun was shining on it, making it look so blaze orange. It could have been that, it could have not. But the reason why I say that is because I am from Baltimore, Maryland. And so I was born there, and I lived there a very, very short time before my family ended up moving to Virginia. But it just seemed to speak to, again, that migration of where I came from, which obviously, I'm a spiritual person in a physical world. And so Baltimore is not my home. Heaven is my home. But this notion that this bird, this Baltimore Oriole, could be hanging out in this tree in Kentucky, it just really blew my mind this morning. But that's not where the story ends, my friends. I had gone in the house and I had put my little dog down, and I went over to the sink directly to wash my hands. And as I did, I happened to notice there was something floating around in the backyard. We have a bay window over our sink that looks out into the same backyard that I had just been in. And so I'm looking out, I see this, one of the under feathers that are kind of lighter. I would say it was about the size of a nickel, and it had a whiteness to it, but possibly even just maybe like a silver, a slight gray color. But what ended up happening was, as I saw it coming from the left, and I saw it from afar, and I thought, what is that? And what was incredible is this thing floated. And again, I couldn't see visible wind. I couldn't see breeze. It wasn't like the trees were blowing or anything like that. But obviously there was a little breeze going on back there. But this thing was carried from the left side of the house all the way into my view. It was completely in front of the window that I was standing in front of. And it kept going by me. There was a little nook where we go into our house. It flew into there and then came back out, then went all the way down the side of our house, then came back around almost into an evergreen tree that we have in the corner, and then it flew all the way back pretty much where it came to the left of where I was standing, and then out of my sight. I couldn't see it anymore. So this feather, not only did it levitate, it's like it kind of seemed to go up right in front of my eyes as it came into that perfect vision right in front of the window that I was standing in front of. But it just went all the way around my backyard in a way that I can't explain. And so as it relates to that aspect of the sign, I had also had the same experience with watching something that was lying on the road, a teeny tiny little thing, just lift almost all the way up into the air right in front of my eyes when I was praying, passionately praying, asking the Lord for a sign, and to confirm to me if this really was the message and if we can anticipate and know that rapture is coming. And I truly felt that that was the way that he showed me. And when this feather flew all the way around our backyard, and it seemed to levitate in the same way that I had already had that experience, and it took me right back to the bluebird and that situation, it just seemed like, again, a divine confirmation. When the Lord brings something to you the second time, and then even maybe the third time, as it relates to this swift and how the swifts are connected to this notion of knowing when it's time, the time of the migration to go back again. And so I just wanted to encourage all of you with that today. I hope it has been an encouragement. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and guide you and fill you with his perfect grace overflowing.